Hello guys and welcome to our next tutorial, and today I will teach you about for loop. So for loop is basically in for loop in C++ provides a structured and concise way to repeatedly execute a block of code a certain number of times. It is particularly useful for iterating over a range of values or elements in container like arrays, vectors or other data structures. These things you shouldn't really worry about right now. We will learn them later. Let me tell you some advantages of for loop. The basic advantage of for loop is readability. The for loop structure is well defined and easy to read. As you can see over here, it's very easily to read. Like we have initialization. Instead of putting it outside over here, like int I equal to 0, we just put it in the for loop and then easily make it to group it together. Or you can do, there's one thing you could do, you could put it outside like this over here, but you would have to put this semicolon out here. Without it you can't go on, or else the for loop will think, the compiler will think that the for loop has initialization over here, but it's not the initialization, so it will give you an error. So basically we put the initialization over here, or you could declare it out here but initialize it inside over here like this. Like you declared it, the I is an integer and the value of I, and you initialize it in the for loop that value of I is 0. This is how you will ask how this is useful in the for loop and C++. Like if you see, you have, let me make another for loop. You see there are two for loops over here. Okay, this one has a value of 20 and that one has a value of 20. This one had a value of 0, this one had a value of 20. So basically what it will do is, first there's initialization over here, then we initialize it later over here. It will make it easier for like a variable reusability. It will make the variables be reusable, and instead of you having to make another new variable, like for example I is just reserved over here for this for loop and you can't really use it for another and all that. So basically this is how you can do it, but there's a thing that you would have to do. You would have to declare it back to 0, so that after this loop is done, this loop is all like done with, it doesn't go back to this thing up. Like the whole value would be stored over here as in the I. The whole loop is done and counted to 20. Okay, so it will increase the value of I from 0 to 20. So the value of 20 will stay recorded onto the stored onto the variable. And for the next loop, it would make it difficult for the loop to understand it and do it. It's like it will think the value is already initialized to 20, and it can't really go on further. So this is why initializing inside the for loop is more useful than initializing it outside. It makes it much easier for variable reusability, and just in general it makes it your work easier. So what is it, you would ask, what's its syntax? Its syntax is very simple. We have our statement in here, then we have our initialization or declaration, depends upon what you want, and then we have condition, then we have increment and decrement. So this is how a for loop is formed. First we have initialization, declaration. You can declare or initialize it, it's up to you, and then condition, increment and decrement, and then the statement. So let's run this for loop that I have made over here. Okay, let's run it, and you will see it counted to 20. Its value was, initial value was 0, and then it increased up to 20. So basically it counted from 0 to 20, and it's just a simple for loop. There are like many different for loops that you can make, at different difficult ones. You can use for loop to access the value of an array. You could use for loops to do a lot of things. These are very useful in C++ programming. Later on, the master programming is very useful and very essential part of a program. So basically this is pretty much it you needed to learn about for loop, and this is all the basic things. Later on we will make some projects together where we will use for loop, all the loops, like how we want to, and that those will be coming in my later videos. So I hope you learned more in this video, and I hope to see you in the next one.